Have you ever felt like some people go out of their way to test your patience just to see how far they can push you? When someone wants to see you lose control, they'll start doing this. They poke, they prod, they disrespect you subtly, hoping you'll snap so they can say, "See, I knew you couldn't handle it." But what if I told you that the moment you stop reacting emotionally, that's when you become untouchable in their eyes? It's like a wolf circling a fire, drawn to the heat but too afraid to get burned. Or like a child pressing buttons on a machine just to watch what happens. The more you stay calm, the less fun you become. And the moment you stop giving them what they want, that's when they start losing their grip. Because while they're hoping to provoke you, you have two choices: let them control your peace, or rise above and stay unbothered. And when you choose self-control over reaction, that's when the power shifts. The moment you stop proving yourself, they realize they never had control to begin with. So, how do you handle someone who keeps testing your limits? Stay with me till the end, because the final mindset will change how you deal with disrespect forever. Let's begin. Number 1. Don't react emotionally. Pause first. Let's talk about one of the most important Stoic responses when you're disrespected. Don't react emotionally. When someone insults you, dismisses your opinion, or tries to belittle you in front of others, your first instinct might be anger. Maybe your chest tightens. Maybe your voice wants to rise. You want to fire back, defend yourself, prove a point. But here's what the Stoics knew long ago. When you react emotionally, you're not defending your power. You're handing it over. Here's the truth. Reacting out of anger or hurt means you've let the other person control the moment. Your mind becomes their playground. They pushed a button and you danced. But when you pause first, when you stop, breathe, and let the emotion rise and fall, you shift everything. You're no longer reacting from ego or pain. You're responding from principle. And that's where your power is. This is what Epictetus meant when he said, "If you are easily provoked, you are easily controlled." The person who can provoke you at will owns you in that moment. But the person who pauses, who doesn't lash out immediately, is someone you can't manipulate. They're grounded. And in today's world, where disrespect often hides behind sarcasm, passive aggression, or fake jokes, that pause is a weapon. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Brian, had a boss who constantly tried to get under his skin. He'd throw subtle insults during meetings like, "Well, Brian's idea is ambitious," followed by laughter. Brian used to respond defensively. He'd interrupt, explain himself, argue, and every time he walked out of the room more frustrated than before. But one day, Brian tried something different. He said nothing. He didn't defend. He didn't flinch. He just paused, looked his boss in the eye, and let the silence speak for itself. The effect? The room got quiet. The boss lost momentum. And most importantly, Brian didn't feel like he lost a part of himself trying to prove anything. So how do you practice this? First, recognize the trigger. When someone disrespects you, notice what's happening in your body. Tight jaw, clenched hands, raised voice. Second, pause. Even 2 seconds of silence can break the cycle. And third, ask yourself, does this moment deserve your peace? Is it worth losing yourself over someone else's words? At the end of the day, disrespect is inevitable. But whether you react or respond, that's up to you. A true Stoic doesn't let others pull their strings. They pause, they protect their peace, and in doing so, they rise above the noise. Number 2. Recognize their behavior reflects them, not you. Let's talk about one of the most important Stoic truths when it comes to handling disrespect. It's not about you. When someone disrespects you, talks down to you, mocks your ideas, or treats you like you're beneath them, it's easy to internalize it. You start wondering, did I do something wrong? Or, maybe I should have handled that differently. But here's what the Stoics knew. Disrespect says more about the person giving it than the one receiving it. Here's the truth. People project their inner battles onto others. If someone needs to insult you, it's usually because they're trying to distract from their own insecurity. If they belittle your progress, it's because they haven't made peace with their own lack of growth. Mature, grounded people don't feel the need to tear others down. They lift others up because they're secure in who they are. So when someone disrespects you, remind yourself, this is a reflection of their character, not a measurement of your worth. This is where Stoic insight shines. Marcus Aurelius once said, "When someone does you wrong, it is because they are mistaken about what is good." That means people act out of ignorance, fear, ego, or pain, not because they truly understand you. And if they don't even understand themselves, how could they possibly define your value? Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Rachel, was promoted at work after years of quiet dedication. Most of her team congratulated her, but one colleague, who had been there longer, made a comment in front of everyone. "Well, I guess you don't need experience to move up anymore." The room went quiet. Rachel felt the sting, but instead of reacting, she smiled and said nothing. Later, she told me, "That comment said everything about her and nothing about me." Rachel understood that her colleague's words came from insecurity, not truth. That one moment of grace gave Rachel more power than any angry response ever could. So how do you practice this mindset? First, pause and observe. When someone disrespects you, ask, what does this really say about them? Second, separate their behavior from your identity. You are not defined by someone else's bitterness. And third, respond from clarity, not ego. That might mean silence. That might mean walking away. But either way, don't mirror their behavior. Transcend it. At the end of the day, you can't control how others treat you, but you can control what you believe about yourself. And once you recognize that disrespect is often a mirror reflecting their inner world, not yours, you'll stop taking it personally and start walking with dignity. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 3, respond with composure, not revenge. Let's talk about one of the most powerful Stoic moves when dealing with disrespect, responding with composure instead of revenge. When someone insults you, embarrasses you publicly, or tries to provoke you, your ego will scream for retaliation. You'll feel that fire inside, the urge to clap back, to humiliate them the way they did you. But here's the truth. Revenge might feel good in the moment, but it costs you your peace. Here's the reality. The goal isn't to win the argument, it's to keep your dignity intact. The moment you stoop to their level, you become what they are, and that's exactly what they want. People who disrespect others thrive off reaction. They want drama. They want you flustered, angry, off balance. But when you respond with calm, measured composure, you take away their power. This is exactly what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." The Stoics knew that true power isn't loud. It's not in shouting matches or clever comebacks. It's in the ability to stay grounded, to remain unmoved when someone tries to pull you into their storm, because the person who can't be rattled can't be controlled. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Josh, was in a team meeting when a colleague made a sarcastic jab about his work ethic. Everyone laughed awkwardly. Josh could have fired back. He could have humiliated that colleague with a sharp comeback. But instead, he paused, looked at him, and calmly said, "I'm here to do my job well, not to entertain." Then he went back to presenting. No raised voice, no insult, just composure. And you know what happened? The room shifted. People respected him more, not less. His silence spoke louder than any retaliation could have. The other guy looked petty. Josh looked unshakable. So how do you respond with composure? First, pause before reacting. Let the moment settle before you speak. Second, ask yourself, what do I want to walk away with? Temporary satisfaction or long-term self-respect? And third, stay rooted in principle, not impulse. The person who insults you wants you to react. Don't give them what they want. At the end of the day, revenge might feel good for a second, but composure lasts. Let your discipline speak louder than their disrespect. Because when you stay calm in the face of provocation, you don't just win, you rise above, and nothing disarms disrespect faster than dignity. Number 4. Set clear boundaries, calmly. Let's talk about something Stoics understood deeply. Setting boundaries is not a sign of weakness or aggression, it's a sign of self-respect. Being Stoic doesn't mean you let people walk over you. It doesn't mean staying silent when someone repeatedly crosses a line. A true Stoic isn't passive, they're just selective. They choose how and when to respond. And when they do, it's not with rage or emotional chaos, it's with calm firmness. Here's the truth. If someone consistently disrespects you and you say nothing, you're teaching them that it's okay. Silence may feel like the high road, but without clear boundaries, it becomes permission. That's why Stoic wisdom teaches us to respond, not with anger, but with intention. You don't have to yell, you don't have to fight. You just have to speak clearly, calmly, and with conviction. This is where Plato's insight fits perfectly. A wise man speaks because he has something to say, not because he wants to say something. In other words, speak when it matters. And when it comes to protecting your peace, your dignity, and your emotional space, it matters. Stoics don't speak to impress. They speak to uphold principle. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Dana, had a colleague who constantly interrupted her in meetings. At first, she brushed it off, thinking she didn't want to seem confrontational. But after weeks of being spoken over, she realized her silence was becoming a pattern, and it was costing her voice. So the next time it happened, she paused, looked at the colleague, and said, "Please let me finish before jumping in. I want to make sure we're hearing each other fully." That's it. No anger, no sarcasm, just a clear, firm boundary. And it worked. From that point forward, the interruptions stopped, not because Dana got louder, but because she got clearer. So how do you set boundaries the Stoic way? First, know your limits. Understand what's okay with you and what's not. Second, when a line is crossed, don't explode. Respond with calm, respectful clarity. And third, stay consistent. A boundary is only as strong as your willingness to uphold it. At the end of the day, being calm doesn't mean being passive. Being kind doesn't mean being silent. And being Stoic doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. When you set boundaries without anger, you send a message. I respect myself too much to stay quiet. And that kind of clarity commands more respect than any outburst ever could. If you've watched the video this far, don't forget to leave a comment with a "Thank God" and give it a like if you enjoyed the content. Your support means a lot and motivates me to keep creating more interesting videos. I hope you find inspiration in them and that we continue learning together. Thank you for your support. Number 5. Walk away when necessary. Let's talk about one of the most powerful Stoic decisions you can make when dealing with disrespect: walking away. There's this false belief that walking away means you've lost, that you couldn't handle the pressure or win the argument. But the truth is, sometimes the strongest move isn't to confront, it's to withdraw. Because not every battle is worth fighting. Not every person deserves your reaction, and not every insult needs a reply. Here's the reality. Some people thrive on provoking others. They push buttons, stir drama, and feed off emotional reactions. They don't want resolution. They want attention, power, and control. And when you keep engaging with them, even if it's to defend yourself, you're still giving them what they want. But the moment you walk away, you take away their fuel, you break the cycle. And that silence, that absence of reaction, that's what real power looks like. This is where Stoic wisdom cuts deep. Marcus Aurelius said, "Don't waste what's left of your life on the minds of others." That means stop living for their approval, their games, or their chaos. You have limited time, limited energy, limited peace. Why spend it battling with someone who's not even fighting fair? Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Brandon, worked with someone who constantly mocked him in subtle ways. Sarcastic jokes in front of others, passive-aggressive remarks in emails. At first, Brandon tried to respond calmly, tried to assert himself, even tried to be the bigger person. But nothing changed. Until one day, Brandon stopped responding altogether. He stopped giving explanations, stopped giving reactions. He limited his contact, handled things professionally, and emotionally walked away. Over time, that person grew frustrated. Why? Because Brandon's silence took away their power. The disrespect continued, but it had nowhere to land. And Brandon, he stayed centered, peaceful, and in control. So how do you know when it's time to walk away? First, recognize the pattern. If the disrespect is consistent and intentional, it's not a mistake. It's manipulation. Second, evaluate the cost. Is engaging with this person draining you more than helping you? Third, let go without guilt. Walking away doesn't make you weak. It shows you value your peace more than proving a point. At the end of the day, a Stoic doesn't waste time proving themselves to people who refuse to listen. If someone consistently disrespects you, silence isn't surrender. It's self-respect. Walk away, not because you're afraid to fight, but because you know your energy is too valuable to waste. Number 6. Practice internal validation. Let's talk about the deepest foundation of handling disrespect like a true Stoic: internal validation. It's easy to build your confidence on praise, on approval, on being liked, noticed, and admired. But what happens when that applause disappears? What happens when someone mocks you, underestimates you, or flat out disrespects you? If your worth depends on the opinion of others, then their negativity can shake your entire sense of self. But when your validation comes from within, no insult, no shade, no silence can touch you. Here's the truth. The more you rely on your own values, the less you'll care about external insults. When you know who you are, when you've built your identity on integrity, effort, and truth, you don't flinch when someone tries to tear you down. Their opinion becomes just that, an opinion, not a verdict, not a definition, just noise. This is exactly what Seneca meant when he said, "He who is not a slave to the opinion of others is truly free." Most people walk around chained to what others think. They dress for approval, speak for acceptance, and react to be validated. But the Stoic walks differently. Their sense of worth is built in silence, on discipline, on clarity, on self-awareness. And that kind of confidence doesn't need to be seen, it needs to be lived. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Lauren, ran a small creative business. At first, people didn't take her seriously. She heard things like, "Oh, that's cute," or "You're still doing that little thing." For a while she felt the sting. She almost gave up, until she realized she was giving those opinions too much weight. So she turned inward. She focused on the impact her work had on real people. She reminded herself why she started in the first place. And most importantly, she stopped waiting for validation from people who didn't understand her vision. The more she honored her own values, the quieter the noise became. And with time, even those who doubted her couldn't deny her growth. So how do you build internal validation? First, define your values. Who are you when no one's watching? Second, detach from opinions. Praise and criticism are both temporary. Don't anchor your self-worth to either. And third, check in with yourself more than you check in with others. Let your reflection guide you, not someone else's reaction. At the end of the day, a Stoic doesn't need the world to approve. They approve of themselves. When your confidence is rooted in character, not applause, no insult can shake it. Build that kind of strength, and disrespect will never find a place to land. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 7. Let time and character speak for you. Let's talk about one of the most powerful Stoic responses to disrespect: letting your life speak for you. When someone disrespects you, your first urge might be to defend your name, explain your side, or correct the lie. You want people to know the truth. You want justice now. But the Stoics understood something most people never learn. A moment of disrespect can be loud, but a life of character is louder. Here's the truth. If you try to respond to every insult, every rumor, every slight, you'll spend your entire life defending what time would have proven on its own. Your energy will be scattered, your peace will be gone. And still, some people will believe what they want to believe. But if you stay the course, if you keep living with integrity, with discipline, with quiet strength, your life begins to speak louder than any insult ever could. Heraclitus said it simply: "Time reveals truth. Let your life be your response." That's Stoicism in action. You don't fight every battle. You don't explain yourself to people who've already made up their minds. You just keep showing up, doing the work, staying rooted in your values. Over time, the truth rises, not because you shouted it, but because you lived it. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Michael, was once publicly disrespected by a business partner. Lies were told. His name was dragged through meetings and group chats. At first, he wanted to retaliate. He drafted messages, prepared to expose the other person. But then he paused. Instead of reacting, he focused on his work. He served his clients with excellence. He stayed humble, and he let time do what it always does. It exposed character. Within a year, the same people who doubted him came back and apologized. Why? Because Michael never fought for approval. He let his actions build the truth, brick by brick. So, how do you let time and character speak for you? First, Resist the urge to explain yourself to people who aren't listening. You don't owe everyone a defense. Second, focus on consistency. One moment of disrespect won't define you, but your daily actions will. And third, trust time. If you live with principle, truth always finds its way to the surface. At the end of the day, the loudest response isn't a comeback. It's a life of quiet, steady strength. Let your integrity speak in rooms where your voice was never welcome. Because when all is said and done, time remembers character and forgets noise. If you believe this video can help others, give it a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show it to more people. And don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content coming your way. Share your thoughts in the comments. I will definitely reply.